Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator by Roald Dahl. Dramatized by Edward Phillips.
Hello, Willy Wonka here, owner of the largest, the most wonderful, the most fabulous chocolate factory in the world. This is the story of what happened after little Charlie Bucket found the 5th golden ticket, and I promised that I would hand over my factory to him when I retired. We were returning to the factory in the great glass elevator, and Charlie's whole family was with us. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket, his father and mother, Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine, Mr. Bucket's father and mother, and Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina, Mrs. Bucket's father and mother. Grandpa Joe had got out of bed for the first time in 20 years. The other 3 old folks had refused to get up, and we had pushed the bed into the glass elevator before taking off. The great glass elevator was 1,000 feet up and cruising nicely. The sky was a brilliant blue. Everybody on board was wildly excited at the thought of going to live in my famous chocolate factory. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket were smiling for the first time in years, and the 3 old ones in the bed were grinning and chattering away like monkeys.
What in the world keeps this crazy lift up in the air?
Madam, it is not a lift. It is a great glass elevator.
Now what keeps it up?
Skyhooks.
Oh, you amaze me.
Dear lady, you are new to the scene. When you've been with us a little longer, nothing will amaze you.
These sky hooks. I suppose one end is hooked onto this contraption we're riding in, right?
Right.
What's the other end hooked onto?
Every day I get deafer and deafer. Remind me to call up my ear doctor the moment we get back.
Charlie, I don't think I trust this gentleman very much.
Now, you be quiet, Josie, and don't make trouble.
Now, we must hurry. We have a great deal to do. But before we go down, we must go up.
No, what did I tell you? The mine's cracked.
Be quiet, Josie. Mr. Wonka knows exactly what he's doing.
Thank you. As I was saying, we have to go up. In fact, quite a long way up. To tell the truth, a tremendously long way up. So, hold on to your stomachs.
Joe, make him stop this thing. I want to get off.
Mr. Wonka, why do we have to go up?
Because the higher we are when we start coming down, the faster we'll be going when we hit. We've got to be going at an absolutely sizzling speed when we hit.
When we hit what?
The factory, of course.
Oh, you must be whackers. We'll all be pulpified.
That is a chance we shall have to take.
You're joking. Tell us you're joking.
Madam, I never joke. If we don't come down at a terrific speed, we'll never burst our way back in through the roof of the factory. It's not easy to punch a hole in a roof as strong as that.
But there's a hole in it already. We made it when we came out.
Then we shall make another. 2 holes are better than 1. Any mouse will tell you that.
Mr. Wonka, don't you think this is about high enough? We can see the whole of the earth already. All the countries and all the oceans. It's very pretty.
Don't talk now, please. I must watch things very carefully at this stage. Split second timing, my boy. That's what it's got to be. Now, you see this green button? I must press it at exactly the right instant. If I'm just half a second late, then we'll go too high.
What happens if we go too high?
Do please stop talking, madam, and let me concentrate.
Look! Oh, down there. It's the entire continent of North America. We must be at least 200 miles up. Oh, somebody's got to stop this maniac. Will you stop?
Will you let go of my coattails? I have things to see to. Don't disturb the pilot.
You madman!
Let go.
Just down to me.
I can't. Let me go, please. I've got to press that button now or we'll go too high. No, let me go. Charlie, press the button. The green one, quick, before it's too late. It's too late. Oh, my goodness me, we're cooked.
Mr. Wonka, we're floating. We're all floating about like balloons. Even the bed is floating. Did we go too far?
That, Charlie, is an understatement. Do you know where we've gone, my friends? Into orbit, that's where we've gone. We are now rushing around the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour. How does that grab you?
I'm choking. I can't breathe.
Of course you can't. There's no air up here. Just a minute. I'll press the oxygen button. There we are. We'll be all right now.
This is the strangest feeling. I feel just like a bubble.
Oh, it's great. It's as though I don't weigh anything at all.
You don't. None of us weighs anything.
What piffle! I weigh 137 pounds exactly.
Not now, you don't. You are completely weightless.
Grandma, we've got you out of bed at last.
Shut up and help us get back.
Forget it. You'll never stay down. Just keep floating around and be happy.
The man Jaluli. We're all alone in outer space, and he says be happy.
Not quite alone, madam. If you look out there, you'll see we've got company. Space capsules. 2 of them. One gigantic one about 1,000 feet long, and a smaller one just below it. And I know what they are. We've landed slap in the middle of the biggest space operation of all time.
What?
That big one's the New American Space Hotel. And if I'm not very much mistaken, that little transport capsule's just about to link up with it.
Attention all hotel staff, this is Commander Shuckworth of the transport capsule. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now preparing for docking with the Space Hotel USA, which you can see about half a mile ahead of us. The USA, the first ever hotel in space, is 1,000 feet long exactly and contains a tennis court, a swimming pool, a children's playroom, and 500 luxury bedrooms, each with a private bath. It is also equipped with a gravity-making machine so that you don't float about inside it. It is orbiting the Earth at a height of 240 miles. When it is open, guests will be taken up by a taxi service blasting off from Cape Kennedy every hour on the hour, Mondays to Fridays. We shall shortly be putting you on board, and then it is up to you all, managers, desk clerks, waitresses, bellboys, and hall porters, to prepare the hotel to receive its first guests. And wait a minute. There's something out there. What in the name of Nebuchadnezzar is that? Houston, come in, Houston.
Ground control, Houston. What's up, Shuckworth?
Houston, there's something crazy going up here. There's a thing orbiting ahead of us, and it's not like any spaceship I've ever seen in my life. It's all made of glass. It's kind of square. It's got lots of people inside it. They're all floating about like fish in a barrel.
Keep your shirt on, Shuckworth. How many astronauts on board?
They can't possibly be astronauts,
Why not?
because at least 3 of them are wearing night shirts.
Night shirts, Shuckworth. Pull yourself together.
It's true, I tell you, there are 3 of them in night shirts, 2 old women and 1 old man. I can see them clearly. I can even see their faces. They're about 90 years old.
Shuckworth, you're fired.
And there's a funny little guy with a pointed beard wearing a black top hat and a plum-colored velvet tailcoat and bottle green trousers. And there's a little kid about 10 years old.
A kid? Shuckworth, you idiot, that's an astronaut in disguise. He's a midget astronaut dressed up as a little boy. Those old people are astronauts too, don't you understand? They're all in disguise. They're gonna blow up the space hotel. Now listen, Shuckworth.
All right, I'll take charge of this. Are you there, Shuckworth?
Of course I'm here. How dare you butt in? Who the heck are you anyway, huh?
This is the President of the United States.
Oh, yeah? Well, this is the Wizard of Oz.
Cut the piffle, Shuckworth. This is President Gilligrass speaking.
Good grief. Hello there, Mr. President, sir. How are you today, huh?
Shuckworth, how many people are there in that glass capsule?
Oh, just the 8, sir. All floating.
Floating?
We're outside the pull of gravity up here, Mr. President, sir. Everything floats. We'd be floating ourselves if we weren't strapped down.
I know that, you idiot. What else can you tell me about that capsule?
There's a bed in it, sir.
What?
A big double bed, sir. And that's floating, too.
You must be understand? It's a trick. That's a bomb, Shockworth. A bomb. It's a bomb disguised as a bed. They're gonna blow up our magnificent space hotel.
But who are they, Mr. President, sir?
Don't talk so much and let me think. Don't you have a television camera up there on the front of your spacecraft?
Sure do, Mr. President.
Then switch it on, you nitwit, and let all of us down here get a look at them.
Gee, never thought of that. No wonder you're the president, Mr. President, sir. Here goes.
Holy Moses, he's right. 8 astronauts so tough they don't even bother to wear spacesuits. Hello, Space Control Houston.
Receiving you loud and clear, Mr. President.
Never mind all that. Can you make radio contact with that alien spaceship?
We can broadcast them, sir, but I don't know if they can receive our signals.
And you never will know unless you try, will you? Try and get through it once and find out who those people are. And keep this line open so I can hear what they say.
Will do, Mr. President.
Mr. Wonka, do you think that capsule is going to link up with the space hotel?
I'm sure of it, Charlie. It's an historic occasion. I expect it's being televised all over the world.
I wish we could hear what they're saying.
But we can, my dear boy, we can. The great glass elevator is fully equipped. We can easily tune into their wavelength. Why, we could even speak to them if we wanted to. Now, let me see. If I just press this button here and turn this knob over here, there, that should do it.
Attention, the 8 foreign astronauts. This is Space Control in Houston, Texas, USA. You are ordered to identify yourselves immediately. Speak now.
Shh! Don't say a word.
Who are you? I repeat, who are you? If you do not reply, we shall be forced to regard you as dangerous enemies. We shall then take the necessary steps to blow you to smithereens, and don't think we can do it. This is your last chance. You have 15 seconds to speak. 1, 2,
Mr. Wonka, we must do something quickly.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right, Charlie. Leave this to me. Fimbo fees, bungo bunny, daffo dunny, you be loony. Kirosuki balibuki, we be wise and you be cookie. Popokuta, borumuka, very risky you provoke. Catty catty moons and tars, fan fisher, we for Mars.
Holy mackerel, what kind of gibberish is that? Sheila,
Yes, Mr. President.
send in my chief interpreter.
Yes, Mr. President.
You sent for me, Mr. President?
What kept you? Never mind. Did you hear that broadcast from the glass spaceship?
Oh, yes, sir. I was listening on the extension.
What language was that creature spouting up there?
Well, Mr. President, it certainly wasn't Eskimo, no. And it wasn't Hindustani either, no. No, it wasn't Aztec, Swahili, Lithuanian.
Don't stand there telling me what it wasn't, you nincompoop. Tell me what it was.
Oh, well, I'm afraid it's a language I've never heard before, sir.
What? I thought you knew every language in the world.
Well, I do, Mr. President.
How can you possibly know every language in the world when you don't know this one?
Because, Mr. President, it's not a language of this world, sir.
Poppycock. I even understood some of it myself.
Well, these people have obviously tried to learn just a few of our easier words, but the rest of it is certainly not an Earth language.
Holy catfish, you mean to tell me these people come from outer space?
Precisely, Mr. President.
Like where, for instance?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but they did mention the word Mars.
You don't mean they're Martians?
I think it's quite possible.
This is a catastrophe. It's worse than that. It's very serious. We must blow them up at once.
Well, that would take care of the situation, sir, except for one thing. If we blow them up, Mars will probably declare war on us.
My gosh, you're right. We'd be truculated like turkeys. We've got to treat these fellows with kid gloves. We've got to be polite to them. Butter them up. Make them happy. The last thing we want is to be invaded by men from Mars. Think what it would do to the defense budget. I'll talk to them myself. That's what I'll do in person.
It's awfully quiet, Mr. Wonka. Do you think they got your message?
We'll know soon enough, Charlie. In the meantime...
Attention, astronauts, the President of the United States will now address you.
My dear friends, welcome. Greetings to the brave astronauts from Mars.
Mr. Wonka, he thinks we're from Mars.
Shh, listen.
You have come a long way, so why don't you come just a tiny bit further and pay us a visit down here on our humble little Earth, huh? I invite all 8 of you to stay with me here in Washington as my honored guests. You could land that wonderful glass spaceship of yours on the lawn and back of the White House. I do hope you know enough of our language to understand me. I shall wait most anxiously for your reply.
What a fantastic thing. The White House, Charlie. Oh, we're invited to the White House as guests of the President. They're scared to death. They won't bother us anymore. And now we can think about getting home.
Oh, but aren't we going to the White House? I want to go to the White House and stay with the President.
My dear old Dotty Dumpling, you look as much like a man from Mars as a bedbug. They'd know at once they'd been fooled. We'd be arrested before we could say howdy-do.
But we've got to say something to the President. He must be sitting down there in the White House this very minute waiting for an answer.
You're right, Charlie. It's rude to ignore an invitation. I'll make some excuse. I'll tell him we've got a prior engagement. Now that ought to do with it.
Mr. Wonka, look. Look at the Space Hotel. There are things coming out of it. Thousands of them. They look like gigantic eggs, but they're greeny brown and wrinkly, and they've got eyes, big red staring eyes.
Oh, my sainted pants! Vermicious canids.
Vermicious what?
Canids, Charlie, vermicious canids, the most brutal, venomous, murderous beast in the entire universe. If a vermicious canid gets hold of you, he can rasp you into 1,000 tiny bits and grate you like cheese and flocculate you alive.
Well, what are you waiting for, you old fool? Turn back at once.
Dear lady, this isn't a car on the motorway. We are in orbit. You can't stop just like that. First of all, there's the question of...
I don't care about all that. Put the brakes on.
My dear lady, allow me to point out to you that the great glass elevator is completely shockproof, waterproof, bomb-proof, bulletproof, and canid-proof. You have nothing to fear.
Mr. Wonka, the canids are pouring out from the Space Hotel and swarming like wasps towards the transport capsule. There are thousands of them, and they're going to attack the capsule. They're coming in reverse, with their pointed rear ends, in front.
Get us out of here! Oh, you madman! What are you waiting for?
They'll be coming after us next. For heaven's sake, man, do something.
I've already told you we are perfectly safe in here. But I doubt very much if that capsule is canid-proof.
Mr. Wonka, we've got to do something. We've got to help them. We've simply got to.
Do you think the men from Mars have accepted my invitation, Chief Interpreter?
I'm sure of it, sir. It was a brilliant speech.
Yes, wasn't it? Yes, they're probably on their way down here right now. What on earth are we going to give them for lunch? What do men from Mars eat?
Mars bars?
If that was a joke, it was an extremely bad taste. We've no time for...
Mr. President, Commander Shuckworth here, sir. They're coming at us in droves.
Who's coming at you in droves? Pull yourself together, man. Remember, you're an American.
Oh, sorry, Mr. President, sir. I don't know what they are, sir, but they're coming out of the Space Hotel. Thousands of them, dirty, greenish brown brutes with red eyes. They're shaped like enormous eggs, and they're coming at us backwards.
Did you say backwards?
Yes, sir. Backwards. Look out! Here they come! We won't be able to stand this for very long, Mr. President, sir. There are 1,000 of these things. We're going to break up any minute.
Well, fire your rockets, you idiot, and make a re-entry. Come back to Earth immediately.
That's impossible, sir. They busted our rockets. They smashed them to smithereens. We're cooked, Mr. President, sir. We're done for. We can't make a re-entry without rockets, sir. Any moment now, we're going to lose contact with you. There's another lot coming at us from the left. They're aiming straight for our radio aerial.
Here they come. I don't think we'll be able to...
Shuckworth! Where are you, Shuckworth? Don't play games with me. Shuckworth! If you don't answer me immediately...
Mr. Wonka, surely their only hope is to make a re-entry and dive back to Earth.
Yes, but to do that, they've got to kick themselves out of orbit. And to do that, they need rockets. But they haven't got any rockets, not anymore. The Canids have smashed them up.
Why can't we tow them down?
Charlie, you've got it. That's it. We'll tow them out of orbit. Do the buttons quickly.
What do we tow them with? Our neckties?
Don't worry about little things like that. My great glass elevator is ready for anything. In we go. Into the breach, dear friends. Into the breach.
Stop him!
Oh, you be quiet, Josie. Someone over there needs a helping hand. We're going to give it.
Grandpa Joe, sir, kindly jet yourself over to the far corner of the elevator there and turn that red handle. It lowers the rope.
But surely the Cnids will bite through a rope in 2 seconds, Mr. Wonka.
It's a steel rope. It's made of re-scorched steel. If they try to bite through that, their teeth will splinter like spillikins.
Oh, good.
Right, to your buttons, Charlie. You've got to help me maneuver. Now, we're going right over the top of the space capsule, and then we'll try to hook onto somewhere and get a firm hold.
Starboard a bit, Charlie. Right on top of her now. Forward a couple of yards, Mr. Wonka. I'm trying to get the rope hooked around that stumpy thing sticking out in front. There. Hold it. I've got it. No, forward a little now and see if it holds. More. That's it. Full speed ahead. She's holding fine.
Well done, sir. All boosters firing. Here we go. Oh, it's funny, isn't it? There was I fooling around with the president, pretending we were creatures from some other planet, and by golly, there really were creatures from another planet on board. These vermicious Canids are the terror of the universe. They travel through space in great swarms, landing on stars and planets and destroying everything they find.
But why haven't they come down to Earth and destroyed us?
They've tried to, Charlie, many times, but they've never made it. You see, all around our Earth there is a vast envelope of air and gas, and anything hitting that at high speed gets red hot. Now, space capsules are made of a special heat-proof metal, and when they make a re-entry, their speeds are reduced right down to about 2,000 miles an hour by retro-rockets. Canids, which are not heat-proof at all and don't have any retro-rockets, get sizzled up completely. Have you ever seen a shooting star?
Lots of them.
Well, they're not shooting stars at all. They're shooting Canids. They're Canids trying to enter the Earth's atmosphere at high speed and going up in flames.
That's very interesting. And what's even more interesting is that there's a big one coming straight at us at about 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, by golly, she's right. And it's changing shape. I've never seen anything like it. Look, it's getting longer and longer, stretching itself out like chewing gum. Oh, it looks like a long, slimy green serpent as thick as a tree and as long as a football pitch.
Yes. That's the interesting thing about vermicious Canids. They can turn themselves into any shape they want. They have no bones, you see. Normally they're egg-shaped, but their bodies are really one huge muscle, enormously strong, but very stretchy, like a mixture of rubber and putty with steel wires inside.
Oh, that's great. That monster's almost on top of us and he's giving us a lecture.
Oh, don't worry, he can't hurt us. Now, but you'd better brace yourselves. Here he comes.
It's wrapping itself round the elevator. Round and round and round. It's tying us up like a parcel.
Just look at this slimy creature. It's only inches away just the other side of the glass. Oh, my heavens, what's it doing now?
It's tying itself into a knot.
So it is. A reef knot, if I'm not mistaken.
And look, It's curling its loose end into a hook.
Mr. Wonka, what are those others doing out there? They're all stretched out in a long line and they're all linked up together. But that line must be about half a mile long. And the one at the very front of the chain is leading them in a wide circle down towards the elevator.
How interesting.
Well,
I see what they're up to now. They're going to hook up with this brute who's tied himself around us and then tow us away into outer space.
Oh, do something! Oh, you old fool! Don't just float about gooping at them!
Yes, I must admit that for the first time in my life, I find myself at a bit of a loss.
Mr. Wonka, they're going to link up any minute now.
I want to go home. Why can't we all go home?
Oh, yes. I suppose we'd better. Pity it was just getting interesting. Charlie, you take the yellow button. When I give the word, press it for all you're worth. I'll handle the retro rockets. How's the tow rope holding, Grandpa Joe?
The capsule's still with us, Mr. Wonka. The rope's holding fine.
Right, well, here we go. Hold on to your hats.
Wow, we're really travelling. The Earth's getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, but look, the Knids are keeping up with us. In fact, they're getting closer. They're about to link up. Oh, we're too late.
I think not. Don't you remember what happens when a Knid enters the Earth's atmosphere at high speed? It gets red hot. It burns away in a long, fiery trail. It becomes, in short, a shooting Knid.
Mr. Wonka, look! Look at the sparks. They're burning up. That nearest one is shining like a red-hot poker. And so is the one called round us. It's trying to uncoil itself, but it can't undo the knot. It's beginning to sizzle. They're all beginning to sizzle. It sounds like bacon frying. It's freed itself at last. Wow, look at them go. Shooting Knids.
What a splendid sight! It's much better than Guy Fawkes Night. There they go. We are saved.
What do you mean, saved? We'll all be frizzled ourselves if this goes on any longer. We'll be barbecued like beefsteaks. Look at the glass. It's hotter than a fish gig.
Have no fears, dear lady. My elevator is air-conditioned, ventilated, aerated, and automated in every possible way.
But aren't you going to slow down, for heaven's sake?
Of course he is, Grandma. I'll bet Mr. Wonka's got a great big parachute that opens just before we hit.
Parachutes are for sissies. And anyway, we don't want to slow down. We want to speed up. I really am getting tired of telling you that we've got to be going at an absolutely tremendous speed when we hit. Otherwise, we'll never punch our way in through the roof of the chocolate factory.
How about the transport capsule?
We'll be letting them go in a few seconds. They do have parachutes to slow them down on the last bit.
How do you know we won't land in the Pacific Ocean?
I don't, but we all know how to swim, don't we?
This man is crazy as a crumpet.
Grandpa Joe, sir, throw out the rope. They'll be all right now as long as their parachute is working.
Rope is gone. Oh, there they go.
Now we shan't be long. Keep very quiet, please, for this final bit. I have to concentrate awfully hard. Otherwise, we'll come down in the wrong place. Now, as soon as we come down out of this thick cloud bank, I shall... There it is. My chocolate factory. And here we go. Hold your breath, hold your nose, fasten your seatbelts, and say your prayers. We're going through the roof. We're in. What a magnificent job.
Where in the world are we now?
We're back, Mother. We're in the chocolate factory.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it. But didn't we come rather a long way round?
We had to avoid the traffic.
Oh, I never heard a man who talks so much absolute nonsense.
Oh, thank you. And now, you old folks, up you hop out of that bed and let's get cracking. I'm sure you'll all want to lend a hand in running the factory.
Who? Us?
Yes, you.
You must be joking.
I never joke.
Now, just you listen to me, sir. You've got us into quite enough troubles and troubles for one day.
And I've got you out of them too. And I'm going to get you out of that bed as well, if it's the last thing I do.
I haven't been out of this bed in 20 years, and I'm not getting out now for anybody.
No, me.
You were out of it just now, every one of you.
Aha, that was floating.
Yes.
We couldn't help it.
No, we never put our feet on the floor.
Never.
Try it. You might surprise yourself.
Go on, Josie, give it a try. I did, it was easy.
We're perfectly comfortable where we are, thank you very much.
Well, that's that then. I wonder if, as this is a very special case, I suppose I could spare you just a tiny little bit of,
A tiny little bit of what?
No, it's pointless. You seem to have decided to stay in that bed, whatever happens, and anyway, the stuff is much too precious to waste. I'm sorry I mentioned it.
You can't begin something and not go on with it like that.
No.
What is this thing you're talking about?
Get on with it, for heaven's sake.
Very well, I'll tell you. And listen carefully, because this could change your whole life.
I don't want to be changed.
May I go on, madam? Thank you. Not long ago, I was fooling about in my inventing room, stirring stuff around and mixing things up in the way I do every afternoon at 4 o'clock, when suddenly I found I had made something that seemed very unusual. It kept changing colour as I looked at it, and now and again it gave a little jump. It actually jumped up in the air, as though it were alive. I rushed it quickly to the testing room and gave some to the Oompa Loompa who was on duty there at the time. He was a bald, wrinkled, toothless old fellow in a wheelchair. He'd been in that wheelchair for at least 15 years. I gave him the pill. He gulped it down, and suddenly the most amazing thing happened. Queer little changes began taking place in the way he looked. A moment earlier, he'd been practically bald, but now the fringe of white hair round his head was turning gold. And all over the top of his head, new golden hair was beginning to sprout like grass. At the same time, many of the wrinkles started disappearing from his face. Not all of them, but enough to make him look a good deal younger. He started grinning at me, and as soon as he opened his mouth, I saw the strangest sight of all. Teeth were growing up from those old toothless gums, good white teeth, and they were coming up so fast I could actually see them getting bigger and bigger. Slowly, he lifted himself out of his wheelchair. He stood up. He walked a few paces. Then he looked up at me. His eyes were huge and bright as two stars. "It's a miracle," he said. "It's Wonka Vite," I replied, "the great rejuvenator. It makes you young again. How old do you feel now?" "I feel exactly as I felt when I was 50 years old," he said. "How old were you just now, before you took the Wonka Vite?" I asked him. 70, he answered. "That means," I said, "it has made you 20 years younger." And thus was Wonka Vite invented. And here it is, the most valuable bottle of pills in the world.
Let me see. Wonka Vite. Each pill will make you younger by exactly 20 years. Caution. Do not take more than the amount recommended by Mr. Wonka.
They're wriggling. How do we know that they won't go on wriggling inside us after we've swallowed them?
Take my word for it. When taken according to my instructions, they are as safe as sugar candy. And they are very quick. You lose a year a second. Exactly 1 year falls away from you every second that goes by. So, there you are, my dears. Help yourselves.
There's 12 pills in this bottle. That's 6 for me and 3 each for you.
Hey, that's not fair. It's 4 for each of us.
4 each is right. Come on, Georgina. hand over my share.
I got them first, so they're mine to share out.
Oh, no, they're not. He didn't give them to you. He gave them to all three of us.
I want my share, and no one's going to stop me getting it. Come on, hand them over.
Stop this at once, all three of you.
Oh, well-
You're behaving like savages.
Savages.
4 is too many for one person anyway. You heard what Mr. Wonka said.
All right. I'll share them out. Here you are. You're 4 for you,
For you,
Josephine.
Josephine.
Thank you.
You're 4 for you, George.
For you,
and
George.
4 for me.
Madam, if you remember, I did point out that one pill...
You keep out of it. Now, who's got some water?
Here's a jug and some glasses, Grandma.
Yeah.
I'll pour it out for you.
Thank you.
May I take this opportunity to point out, madam, once again, that each pill will reduce your age by 20 years.
No, do
And,
stop going on about it, dear boy. Now then, are we ready?
Yes.
All together now. Down the hatch.
Wow, just look at that. That's fantastic. It's incredible.
I can't believe it. They're getting younger and younger. Oh, they really are. Just look at Grandpa George's hair.
And his teeth. Hey, Grandpa, you're getting lovely white teeth all over again.
What's it feel like, Josie? Tell us what it feels like to be 60 again. Or is it 55?
They're losing a year a second,
Yeah.
just like Mr. Wonka said.
My wife's only 40 years old now.
35, Grandpa. 30,
Slow down, Josie, slow down.
25.
No, Josie, I should stop there if I were you. You can't be a day more than 20 now.
Oh, dearie me, here we go again. People never listen, do they?
Mother, why don't you stop? You're going too far. You can't be more than 15. You're getting smaller and smaller. 10, 9, 8, 7.
Josie, you're shrinking. You're a little girl. Stop her, somebody, stop her.
They're all going too far.
They took too much.
Mother's shrinking faster than any of them.
They've hardly got any more years left.
2, 1.
Oh.
Oh, what's happening to Mama? She's disappeared. Oh, where's she gone? Oh, Mr. Wonka, my own mother's vanished.
Look at Josephine. She's a baby, a little baby. I've got a little baby for a wife.
And that other baby's my wife's father.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, ladies and gentlemen, I beg you, do not ruffle yourselves. There's nothing to worry about.
You call it nothing when my old mother's gone down the drain and my father's a howling baby.
Why can't people be more sensible? Why don't they listen to me when I tell them something? I explained very carefully beforehand that each pill makes you exactly 20 years younger. So if Grandma Josephine took 4 of them, she automatically became younger by 80 years. How old, sir, was your wife, if I may ask, before this happened?
She was 80 last birthday. 80 and 3 months.
There you are, then. The Wonkavite worked perfectly. She is now precisely 3 months old, and a plumper, rosier infant I have never set eyes on. Madam, how old was Grandpa George, your father?
He was 81 exactly.
Which makes him a great big bouncing 1-year-old boy.
You'll be the first person in the world to change her father's nappies.
He could change his own rotten nappies. What I want to know is where's my mother? Where's Grandma Georgina?
How old, please, was the lady in question?
78.
Well, of course, that explains it.
What explains what?
My dear madam, if she was only 78 when she took enough Wonkavite to make her 80 years younger, then naturally she's vanished.
What?
She's bitten off more than she can chew. She's taken off more years than she had.
Oh, I still don't understand.
A simple arithmetic. Subtract 80 from 78 and what do you get?
-2.
Give that boy a gold star. Absolutely right, Charlie. -2. And if she is now -2, she's got to add 2 years before she can start again from 0. She's got to wait it out.
Wait it out? Where, for heaven's sake?
In the waiting room, of course. That's where she'll have to stay for the next 2 years. Unless, of course, we go and fetch her. Charlie, my boy, it's up to you. It's your factory now. Shall we let your Grandma Georgina wait it out for the next 2 years? Or shall we try to bring her back right now?
You mean we can really do that?
Well, there's nothing certain in this world, Charlie, but there's no harm in trying, is there? If that's the way you want it.
Oh, yes, Mr. Wonka, I do. Let's try to bring Grandma Georgina back.
Right. Now, come along then. Hurry up, dear boy. We've got to hustle if we're going to get there before.
Before what, Mr. Wonka?
Before she gets subtracted. All minuses are subtracted, you know that. Now, hop into the glass elevator and I'll close the doors. Now, be so good as to press that button marked Minus Land for me, will you? Sit down, Charlie, and strap yourself in tight. This journey is going to be rough and choppy. We're going a long way, and this time we're going straight down. I only hope the Oompa Loompas aren't using the other elevator today.
The other elevator?
The one that goes the opposite way on the same track as this one.
You mean we might have a collision?
I've always been lucky so far. Now listen carefully, Charlie. I must talk fast, for we'll be there in a couple of minutes. You see, the invention of Wonkavite wasn't quite as straightforward as I said. It took a long time to get it just right, and hundreds of experiments before I perfected it. And I'm afraid that some of the volunteers who took the pills in those early days also disappeared and became minuses, just like Grandma Georgina. One of them actually became minus 87. So I said to myself, if I could invent Wonkavite to make people younger, I should be able to invent something to make people older.
So that you could turn the minuses into pluses and bring them home again.
Precisely. Always supposing I could find out where the minuses had gone to. So I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. I had to create age instead of youth. The solution came to me in a flash. I took all the ingredients that I had used to make Wonkavite and mixed them up in reverse order. I put the last ingredient in first, and the second to the last next, and so on and so on. And instead of stirring them from left to right, I stirred them from right to left. And of course, but there's no time to tell you all about it now, Charlie. We are nearly there. Let me just say quickly that in the end, after lots of boiling and bubbling and mixing and testing, I produced one tiny cupful of oily black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old volunteer. The moment he swallowed it, he began wrinkling and shriveling up all over. His hair started dropping off and his teeth started falling out, and before I knew it, he had suddenly become an old fellow of 75. And thus, my dear Charlie, was Vita Wonk born.
Did you rescue all the minuses?
Well, every single one of them. 131 all told. Good heavens, we're nearly there. I must stop talking now and watch where we're going. We must get ready for action. Now, unstrap yourself and stand well away from the doors. And whatever you do, don't fall out. This is it, Charlie. Minus Land. The problem now is to find Grandma Georgina. We may be lucky, and then again, we may not.
Mr. Wonka, I don't like Minus Land at all.
I'm not at all keen on it myself, Charlie.
It's all dark and misty and spooky, and it smells like an old underground dungeon. It gives me the willies.
Me too. But we've got a job to do, and we must go through with it.
Do any other creatures live here, Mr. Wonka?
Only the Ganoulis.
Are they dangerous?
If they bite you, they are. You're a goner, my boy, if you're bitten by a Ganouli.
What do they look like?
Well, they don't look like anything, Charlie. They can't.
You mean you've never seen one?
You can't see Ganoulis, my boy. You can't even feel them until they puncture your skin. And then it's too late.
You mean there might be swarms of them all around us at this very moment?
More than likely.
If you're bitten, do you die at once?
Well, first you become subtracted. A little later you become divided, but very slowly. It takes a long time. It's long division, and it's very painful.
Oh, something touched me.
Oh, it was only me. Sorry.
For a second I thought...
There she is! Oh, no, there she isn't. Oh, I could have sworn I saw her for a moment. Right over there on the edge of that dark patch. Keep watching, Charlie.
There she is, there. Over there, look.
Where? Point to her, Charlie.
She's gone again. She just sort of faded away. There she is again, right there.
That's her, all right. Now, hold on. I'm moving up close.
Mr. Wonka, she's so faint. I can see her through the mist, but I can see the mist through her as well. She's transparent. She's hardly there at all. I can see her face and just the faintest outline of her body, in a sort of gown. She's floating lying down.
Well, she's a minus, Charlie. Surely you know what a minus sign looks like. It's horizontal.
We're quite close now. She's no more than a yard away.
Stand clear.
What's that, Mr. Wonka?
A spray gun, Charlie. Now, stand well away. Here we go.
She's disappeared.
A bullseye! Got her with both barrels. I plussed her good and proper. Oh, that's Vita Wonk for you.
But where's she gone?
Back home, of course, to the factory. She's a minus no longer, my boy. She's 100% red-blooded plus. Come along now. Let's get out of here quickly before the Gnulis find us. Thank goodness that's over. Oh, it's such a pity one has to use a clumsy old thing like this spray gun, but there's simply no other way of doing it. Ideally, of course, one should measure out exactly the right number of drops into a teaspoon and feed it carefully into the mouth, but it's impossible to feed anything into a minus. It's like trying to feed one's own shadow. That's why I had to use the spray gun.
It worked fine, though, didn't it?
It worked all right, Charlie. It worked beautifully. All I'm saying is that there's bound to be a slight overdose. If it only takes 4 drops of Vita Wonk to turn a young Oompa Loompa into an old man...
You mean Grandma may have got too much?
I'm afraid that's putting it rather mildly. She got gallons of it. Gallons and gallons. Now, hold on tight. We're on our home stretch.
Oh, Charlie. Thank heavens you're back.
Is Grandma Georgina here?
Yes, she's here. But, well, look for yourself in the bed.
Well, if it isn't young Charlie.
Grandma!
Now, don't be alarmed. She's bound to be just a teeny bit overplussed. I did warn you.
What have you done to her? My poor old mother.
She's so old. She looks like an ancient fossil. Her face is just like a pickled walnut. She's the oldest person I've ever seen.
My dear lady, welcome home. And how are you feeling on this bright and glorious day?
Oh, not too bad at all, considering my age.
Good for you. Now, all we've got to do is to find out exactly how old you are. Then we shall be able to take further steps.
You're taking no further steps around here. You've done enough damage already.
My dear old muddle-headed mugwump, have you forgotten Wonkavite and how every tablet makes you 20 years younger? We shall bring her back in no time. We shall transform her into a blossoming, blushing maiden in the twink of an eye. This time, I myself will supervise the giving of the medicine. I shall personally see to it that she gets the correct dosage. But I cannot work out how many pills to give her until I know exactly how old she is now.
Well, why can't you give her 1 pill at a time and play it safe?
Impossible, madam. In very serious cases such as this one, Wonkavite doesn't work at all when given in small doses. I've got to throw everything at her in one go. A single pill wouldn't even begin to shift her. Now, listen, madam. Listen carefully. Have you any idea just how old you are at the present moment in time?
I lost count of that years and years and years ago.
You've got to think. Are you, for example, 120?
Oh, it's no good, young man. I never did have a head for numbers.
No, this is a catastrophe. If you can't tell me how old you are now, I can't help you. I daren't risk an overdose.
You've messed it up good and proper this time, haven't you?
Grandma, think of something that happened to you. Anything. As far back as you can. It may help us.
Lots of things happened to me, Charlie. So many things.
But can you remember any of them, Grandma?
I don't know, Charlie. I suppose I could remember one or two if I thought hard enough.
Try, Grandma, try. Now, what is the very earliest thing you can remember in your whole life?
There was a ship, and I can remember a ship.
Go on, Grandma. A ship. What sort of a ship? Did you sail on her?
Oh, yes, I sailed on her, my darling. Yes, we all sailed on her.
Where from? And where to?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. I was just a tiny little girl. It had a lovely name, though, that ship. A beautiful name. Now, what was it now?
If I said the name, Grandma, would you remember it then?
I might, Charlie. I just might.
Was it the Mayflower?
That's it. Oh, you've got it, Charlie. The Mayflower. Oh, such a lovely name.
Grandpa, what year did the Mayflower sail for America?
The Mayflower sailed out of Plymouth Harbour on September the 6th, 1620.
Plymouth. That rings a bell, too. Yes, I'm almost sure we sailed from Plymouth.
1620. Oh, my heavens above. That was 352 years ago.
Jumping jackrabbits, she's 352 years old.
She's more. How old did you say you were, Grandma, when you sailed on the Mayflower?
I was just a little bitty girl, probably no more than 6. Yes, that's right, I was 6 years old.
Then she's 358.
That's Vita Wonk for you. I told you it was powerful stuff.
358. Oh, my poor old mother.
Patience, my dear lady. Now comes the interesting part. Now, where did I put the Wonka Vita? Here we are. Now then, how young does she want to be?
78. Exactly where she was before all this nonsense started.
Right. Now, I've got to do a few sums. Let me see. Present age of person, 358. Age she wants to be, 78. Number of years younger she must be, 280. Each pill of Wonkavite makes you 20 years younger. 20 into 280 goes... exactly 14. 14 pills of Wonkavite precisely. Now, where's the water? Quick. Now, 14 pills into the water, and away we go. Now, drink it up quickly while it's still fizzing, all in one gulp. It's a year a second, remember? She's got 280 years to lose. That'll take her 4 minutes and 40 seconds. But with such a massive dose all going down at once, it'll probably speed up as it goes along. There she goes. Watch the centuries fall away. 30 seconds gone. She's 30 years younger.
She looks just the same to me.
Of course she does. What's a mere 30 years when you're over 300 years to start with?
Are you all right, Mother?
1 minute gone. She's 60 years younger and speeding up.
She's changing. Some of her wrinkles are disappearing. Mother! Oh, speak to me, Mother, please. Did you hear the news? Admiral Nelson has beaten the French at Trafalgar. She's going round the bend.
Not at all. She's going through the 19th century. I told you she was speeding up. 2 minutes gone.
General Lee is on the run. Did you hear? Gettysburg. Oh, no. He's dead. They've shot him. He's dead.
Who's dead, Grandma?
Lincoln. There goes the train.
She must have seen it. She must have been there.
Oh, will someone please explain to me what on earth?
3 minutes gone. She's nearly there. Oh, this is tremendous. It's more like 2 years a second.
She's looking almost exactly like she used to.
Just as long as it all stops when it's meant to.
Of course it will. What can possibly go wrong when I'm in charge? She's nearly there. She's nearly done it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. How do you feel, dear lady? Is everything all right?
I feel tolerable. Just tolerable. But that's no thanks to you, you meddling old mackerel. Great heavens! What are those two silly babies doing at the other end of the bed? One of them's your husband. Don't talk rubbish. Where is George? I'm afraid it's true, Mother. That's him on the left, the one with his foot in his mouth. The other one's Josephine. This is all your fault, you chiseling old cheeseburger.
No. If everyone will keep their hair on and leave this to Charlie and me, we shall have them exactly where they used to be, in the flick of a fly's wing. Bring on the Vita-Wonk.
What sort of devilish dumpery are you up to now?
It's all right, Grandma. Vita-Wonk does the opposite to Wonka-Vite. It makes you older. It's what we gave you when you were a minus. It saved you.
You gave me too much.
We had to, Grandma.
I finished up 358 years old. What's to stop you making another little mistake and giving him 50 times more than you gave me? Then I'd suddenly have a 20,000-year-old caveman in bed with me.
Grandma, with you, we had to use a spray gun because you were a minus. But here, Mr. Wonka can measure it out exactly right, drop by drop, and feed it into their mouths.
Charlie, I can see the factory is going to be in good hands when I retire. You learn very fast. Well, come along, we'll do them both together. You hold one spoon and I'll hold the other. I shall measure out 4 drops into each spoon and we'll pop it into their mouths. You do Grandma Josephine and I'll do Grandpa George. Now, here you are. Here's your spoon. All set?
All set, Mr. Wonka.
Ready? Steady? Go!
Hello, my darling. Where have you come from?
Josie, how marvellous you're back.
I didn't know I'd been away.
George, you were better looking as a baby, but I'm glad you've grown up again. Now you won't wet the bed anymore.
Now, come along, you three. Out of that bed, you're going to lend Charlie a hand in running the factory.
Oh, us?
You must be crazy. I'm staying right here in this nice, comfortable bed.
Yes, me too.
Here we go again. Now, just look here, both of you. Hello? Yes, this is he. What? Outside the factory gate, a helicopter? And they gave you what? A letter? Well, what does it say? Oh, never mind. Hold it up to the visi-screen. I'll read it myself. All right, yes, I've got it in focus. Great whistling white noodles. Listen to this, all of you. The White House, Washington, D.C. To Mr. Willy Wonka. Sir, today the whole world is rejoicing at the safe return of our transport capsule from space, with 136 souls on board. Had it not been for the help they received from an unknown spaceship, they would never have come back. Our radar stations, by tracking this spaceship on its return to Earth, have discovered that it landed in a place known as Wonka's Chocolate Factory. That, sir, is why this letter is being delivered to you. I wish now to show you the gratitude of the nation by inviting all 8 of you to come and stay in the White House for a few days as my honored guests. I am arranging a special celebration party this evening, at which I myself will pin medals for bravery upon you all. A helicopter awaits you outside the factory gates. I beg to remain, sir, sincerely yours, Lancelot R. Gilligrass, President of the United States! What an adventure! Oh, Charlie, this is the most wonderful thing that could ever have happened. So please, Charlie, this is really quite wonderful.
Mr. Wonka, sir, they're up. They're out of bed at last.
So I see, Charlie, so I see. But I don't think they've noticed yet.
Mr. Wonka, what a day this has been.
Oh, it certainly has.
What adventures.
Yes, Charlie, what adventures. And it isn't over yet, my boy. Not for you. It hasn't even begun.